my pleasure to be here. This has been my old haunt here, Ballantyne Country Club. I love being here, and I love the number of times that I used to call here. And I'm excited about today because there's nothing more important to me than the personal connections that we make with people and making a fantastic first and lasting impression. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of principles. We've packed in a lot of content and a lot of principles about how we make that impactful first and lasting impression. So we fly through with first talking about what exactly is making an impression. How can you make a fantastic first and lasting impression? And an impression is a strong effect produced on the intellect, feelings, and conscience. It's upon the mind, and it's first and it's immediate. I've already done that. I've made that first impression. I have no idea whether it's fantastic yet. You're still forming that impression. But it's upon the mind, and it's an image in the mind. So today's reality is that the challenge now has changed dramatically in how to make that first and lasting impression. And the reason why it has changed is basically in a single word: technology has changed the game. It has changed the very essence of how we communicate with each other. Isn't it amazing? I mean, in my role as U.S. Promotions Director for Wilson, I fly some 80,000 miles a year. And I go through a lot of airports doing that. And I be with a lot of people. And it is remarkable how we're looking down all the time. And the opportunities that we miss to connect with people. I was meeting with a couple of friends of mine, former Wilson colleagues up in Chicago. And a friend of mine, he took a wrong turn, and we ended up we were meeting at this bar and restaurant. And we ended up being late, so my other friend Tom was waiting, and I said, "Hey, sorry we're really late." Denny's kind of clueless, and he took the wrong turn on the interstate. And I said, "So we really apologize." He said, "It was no problem." He said, "I killed time the old-fashioned way." What do you mean by that? He says, "I sat next to the guy at the bar and we had a drink together." So that is the old-fashioned way. How often when we're in planes, trains, and automobiles that we're on our phones rather than connecting with the person next to us? So this is all about making powerful connections. As we go forward, the most important thing to propel your career forward and to increase the success and happiness of your life is how powerful those connections are with each other. I'm still a traditionalist, and I say that we are made humanly wired to connect with other people on a personal level, not on a technological one. And I will say this, it has nothing to do generationally, it has human nature. And people will tell you about me, gosh Jim, you're on your phone all the time. It's a challenge for each one of us because most of my very best friends are spread out all around the world. So I want to be connected with them. But sometimes I'm so connected, I'm not in the moment. So we're going to talk about in the moment and how we make an impression on someone. And we do so by sight, by sound, by touch, by smell, and by taste. I won't cover the taste part right here, but there are different ways that we can connect people, and we do it through the senses. And so today's question is, how do we take and how do we make a fabulous and fantastic first and lasting impression? And we do that by practicing mathfully every day. What the heck is mathfully? It is any behavior, action, habit, or character trait that triggers a positive response, reaction, or feeling from others. That's a mathfully. The central tenets of mathfully. If there's nothing that you remember from this, I want you to remember this. Make every encounter count. Every interaction you have with people, however it might be done, is an opportunity. Make every encounter count. Every interaction, look at it as an opportunity to elicit a positive reaction. All communication is either increasing or decreasing that connection. Now sure, we have a lot of communication that's neutral. Now you're sending an email, that type. But even that, a poorly crafted email, a harsh email, it's making an impression. We underestimate how important it is of every opportunity. And I'm such a big believer, and as I get older, it's more and more important. We have one life, one opportunity to go through life and to make a positive impact. And all our communication, so often we fail to appreciate just how important it is that by chance interaction that you have in the hallway. You're at a mall, you're at the airport, can be the relationship that can truly change your life. And that's the part that I want you to really get through, because you never have a second chance to make a first impression. You've got one shot. What is that first impression you're going to make? So make a fantastic first and lasting impression. That's mathfully. Is make a fantastic first and lasting impression. So we're going to fly through here of exactly how to do that, because mathfully also is an acronym for the following principles that we have. The following 7 principles, and the first one is be memorable. Who comes to your mind when I ask you the question? Think of a person that has made a fantastic first and lasting impression on you. Why? What makes you remember that person? Anybody? Who comes to mind and why? Yeah.
Many people come to mind, but there are always 2 or 3 people. They kind of, especially in the business, typically I find funny. So you have 2 experiences: the one that was a funny guy from the beginning, a funny lady, super relaxed, or you have the one that's uptight,
right,
and has to make your job very challenging. Right?
You have to work twice as hard.
So that's kind of the way I think of it. But I always go to the positive part. The person that made that positive first experience kind of sticks to your head more. Mm-hmm. The one that's in the back of the head, but it's great. Jokes, always inviting, sure, always having a good connection.
Right.
Just that kind of relationship.
Oh, great.
You kind of become friends at some point,
Fantastic. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was 16 years old, in my country, Venezuela, I was already, a good player. And one time, the first time I met the president of the country, his name was Rafael Cartera. And the way he shook my hand, he first wouldn't let me go, 2 hands. He looked at my eyes, and the word that he said I felt that he really meant it. He
Right.
really meant it.
Genuine.
I'm sure he was trained on that. I'm sure that,
Sure.
because he did all that thing, but that was probably, one of the person that had made the very best first impression ever to me.
Right. And it sticks with you.
It sticks with
And you
you.
were 16. You're
I was
just
16.
slightly older
Yeah,
than
couple
that
of,
now.
couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was just a few years ago. Who remembers Tony Trabert? Right, all right. French Open champion. He taught me the handshake. He was over at our house, and I was really a little kid. I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years old. And my dad said to me, Tony Trabert. And I gave him the dead fish. And he stopped, and he kneeled down, and he said, Tim, shake my hand again. I go, dead fish. No, son. You look me in the eye, firm handshake, and like you're really excited to meet me. Now, here's a French Open champion, one of the greatest tennis players ever, and I give him a dead fish. I've never forgotten it. I've never forgotten that. In fact, people accuse me when I shake hands too hard. Oh my gosh, you're going to break my hand. But it made that impression on me. It's really, really important. Memorability is not being just a funny person. It's not a personality. You can be a flaming introvert. Can someone be that? I don't know. A wild introvert. Okay? It doesn't matter. It's not a personality type. It's an approach. So you don't have to have that outgoing personality, funny, conversationalist, kind of charismatic, all those. You don't have to be attractive and say, oh, you made a great impression because you're this. We all can do it in every encounter. All right? And you've got the jokester. All right? Someone who's a joke teller. Well, I've got to be a joke teller. I've got to be funny in order to make that impression. No, you don't. So how can we increase our memorability? Have creative answers to boring questions. Do we think how often we get boring questions? One of the most boring is, how are you? I'm fine. So often what I'll do is people say, hey Tim, how are you? And I'll say, honest to God, I don't know. That is a great question. I think I'm going to be awesome, but I'm not quite there yet. I mean, it's early morning, I'm sitting at the airport, and I go, well, how are you? And it sparks a conversation because we blow it off with fine and it doesn't go anywhere. There's creative answers, and also ask great questions. So we say, hey, what do you do? So as we're interacting with each other, hey, what do you do? We could ask, what do you love to do? What are you passionate about? What are you most excited about in life right now? There's so many great questions that we can ask. We can ask, what has happened thus far this year that you'll remember 5 years from now? Have you ever thought about that? We go through so many moments in life, and we basically mail it in. And we think, again, I want to get across about making every encounter count. Not only that, I want to get across that every moment is precious, because we could be dead tomorrow. One of the things that I love to say, and I love to keep in paramount in my mind, is I'm one bad left turn away from my life either ending or changing dramatically. Except when I was in Australia, and then I had to change it one bad right turn. But either way, it can change that quickly. So let's make this moment right here, right now count for our time together today, and say, how can we interact with each other? What can we learn from each other? Because we have no guarantees for tomorrow. Does that make sense? So I really want to get that. If nothing else, I want to get that across. Because every interaction can be an experience. It doesn't just have to be a blow-up. What just popped into my mind very quickly, I was in Midway Airport years ago, Southwest Airlines, go to the baggage counter. For some reason, they lost my bag, whatever it might be. And I go through and I said, here, this, and she's just kind of throwing things. And I said, you mind if I ask you a question? And she said, no, go ahead. And I said, looks like today's been one of those days, hasn't it? Oh, God, you have no idea. I said, give me an idea. She told me her story. And it's just a couple bad customers, and I mean, just vented. And then she stopped. And it wasn't a long-winded deal. It took me 2 minutes. And she said, thank you so much. Thank you. I really needed that. I'm having a much better day now. Took me 2 minutes just to care enough and just say, hey, how you doing? It looks like this has been kind of fun. Nobody gives a rip about her. Let's give a rip about each other. And there's different ways that we can change that experience and make an impact. The second letter in Mathly is to be aware. The definition of aware is conscious, alert, being in this moment. I am not so naive to know that you could totally be pretending to listen. But you're out, you go, God, I would love to play that golf course. It's like a great course. And then you're thinking about a worker. Gosh, I've got all these emails to do, or I've got to mow the front yard. There's a lot of things that we may have our minds on that we can pretend to be in the moment, but we're not there. We all do it in a conversation. You know, I had a business lunch late last year, and as soon as I sat down, I thought, oh, this is going to be This is going to be beautiful. Talk about having to fight to continue to be aware of what's going on. Another word is consciousness. Full activity of the mind and the senses. How often, when we're in the moment, wherever we are, that we're fully engaged? Again, we talk about the devices. That's why I wanted to play the video. It is a wonderful gift. The iPhone, the Android, I mean, I'd probably still be driving around this morning if I didn't have Waze. Right? It's fantastic. But it does take us away from fully engaging the mind and the senses. The opposite is mindless. I like the definition there, without intelligence. Somebody is just not there. I actually gave this presentation 2 days ago to a high school class in school, 12 kids, freshman, sophomore. Talk about having to work extra hard to keep them focused and aware and in the moment. There is nothing harder. You know, those of you that teach juniors, you know it is so difficult to keep them engaged because they're thinking, gosh, I want to ask this chick out that Friday night. How am I going to do it? I'm so nervous. Got sweaty palms. It's only Wednesday here. Okay? How can I increase my awareness? Be in the moment and be observant of your surroundings. There could be things going on and you're just kind of checking things out and you find something that's interesting. It allows you to connect with other people. There's so often I blow through life like I'm making a long drive from here to Kansas City and I can drive 240 miles and not even remember it. I go, oh my God, really? I'm already in Kentucky? No idea. And we go through life the same way. Again, I'm going to challenge you again because this is so important. What's happening now that you're going to remember even next week? Can't waste a moment. We can't. Life's too important. So how can I increase my awareness? One is by actively listening. I could talk for an hour about listening, but then of course I wouldn't be listening if I talked for an hour. But to be an active listener, and this is a key point, and I learned this very quickly, is everybody has a story. Everyone has a story. One just popped into my mind right now. One of the very first sales calls, I used to be a territory manager for Wilson, one of the first sales calls that I made was in Springfield Golf and Tennis in Springfield, Missouri. A guy by the name of Barry Dickerman, who was appropriately named. This guy could not have been ruder to me. I would be in a presentation and go, oh, hold on, I got to be with a customer. And then he'd just chat with someone. And I'd start again and go, oh, I've got, and he's just standing there. Finally, I get up. And I said, this obviously is not a good time. I'm like, no. And I go, no, it's not a good time. I'm packing up my stuff. I'll come back. And he and I just had, it was just rude. So I had my first child. And going just kind of small talk, and I say, yeah, Hannah was born last month or whatever. He says, don't get the DPT shot. And I said, well, why? He said, well, my child, it goes in 2 stages. You get 1 shot, and then you get a second shot. Said, I had my little girl had the first shot, and she started developing a little rash and that type of thing. And we went to the doctor to check it out, and the doctor said, oh, that's fine, that's kind of natural. And had the second shot. Well, evidently she had an allergic reaction to the first shot, severely brain damaged. I suddenly looked at Barry Dickerman a lot differently. Yeah, he could be a jerk, but he subsequently got divorced. He has a brain-damaged child. That's a heavy lift. Suddenly, I didn't view him in the same way that I did before. Everyone has a story. Find it. The power of the pause. There's power in that, isn't it? If I go on much longer, it gets a little awkward. We get into conversations, and a lot of times we aren't engaged in the conversations. Sometimes just a pause and reset. So if I lose all of you and you're out on the golf course, if I just stop, it's going to bring you back. Because for no other reason than go, maybe you finally had that heart attack. Great, this will end early. The power of the pause. It is powerful. A lot of times we fill, you know these people, we fill a pause with an F-bomb. And it's F this and F that and all that. Or whatever we want to fill that pause with. Arms and arms. It's okay. Quiet is all right. The power of the pause. It is truly powerful. The first F in Mathly is to be focused. Love these pictures. Who remembers Mike Singletary, number 50 of the Chicago Bears? Wild eyes. And he was great. He was so hyper-focused. That's what we need to be. So focused. That's kind of a deranged emoji, isn't it? Like kind of psycho, but he's focused. Okay? Is to concentrate. The key focus of focus is to direct one's attention. So we have aware, have a clue, know about your surroundings, and then to be focused. So now your awareness is directed. It's focused. And how can I increase it? We talked about this before, about technology can be one of the great distractions. Also shiny little objects. You're kind of doing that, and this is why I live at home, I work at home, which home is a good place to live, by the way, is that I work out of the home, and I'm by myself, yet I'm still distracted. I get to work, and then I said, I'm kind of hungry. Oh, we've got Pop-Tarts. This is great. I got to have one of those, so I pop one in there. All right, now I'm going to get to work. And then I get up, oh, my dog needs a walk. And then I go, all right, now I'm going to get to work. Wait a second. The bird feeder's empty. I got to feed it. And then I'm distracting myself. And so I've got to find environments where I can increase my focus. And when I'm in a conversation, when I'm with somebody, I want to be focused on that person. I want to be there. And so I've got to eliminate the distractions. And so depending on how formal and what is the intent of a meeting, is give it some pre-thought. Why am I here? What's important to them? What is the purpose of the meeting? Do I focus? What's the ideal outcome? You came to this conference for a reason. Why? What do you want to get out of it? What would be the takeaways? What are going to be the takeaways that you're going to take, hopefully something from this message and the messages to come, that you're going to even remember next week? What is going to be, so much of what we're going to be talking about this morning is intentionality. To be, actually give it some pre-thought. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I here? Ask the big 30,000-foot view question. So increasing the focus, this is so important. My son Josh gave his first speech. He's up at Appalachian State University. Gave his first, and he's nervous about public speaking. He is, a lot of people say, oh gosh, you've got a son? Totally hyper, like off the wall, crazy nutball. No, actually he's mature, unlike me. Is that he pretty much a flatliner. He's a chill guy. So he's trying to figure out how, Dad, do you have any tips? Because you do some speaking. Do you have any speaking tips? First thing I said, it's not about you. He was saying, what do I do with my hands? Do I do this? Do I do this? Do I do like the coach's pose? Or what do I do this? Don't worry about it. What I want to do with all of you is I want to get my points across to you so it makes a fantastic first and lasting impression. It's not about me and my speaking. Abraham Lincoln said, he said, when I prepare a speech, said it's maybe 1/3 I'm going to talk about and 2/3 about the people I am talking to. So everybody listens to only one radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? I'd love to think they really care about what's going on in my life and in my world. I mean, I'm a question asker. So few people ask me questions, which is fine. I already know my story. That's how I learn. But most people listen to WIIFM. What's in it for me? So increasing the focus. How can we increase the focus? Sometimes it's really simple. Go to bed. Just go to bed. And I'm talking to myself right now. I see it, and Tim, just go to bed. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You don't need to check your phone. Because guess what? I have the attention span of a gnat because I didn't sleep very well last night. Well, that's a shock. Just go to bed. There's ways that we can do to increase our focus. What's this? What's that? It's a Ferris wheel. And you're thinking, Tim, did you drop the wrong video in the presentation? No, the second F is Ferris wheel. Why in the world are you got memorabilia? And then to be aware and then focus, then Ferris wheel? Let's talk about the Ferris wheel a little bit. Brief little history. 1890, Daniel Burnham was tasked with, you've got to turn this boggy area of Chicago, this little strip, into something spectacular for the 1893 Chicago's World Fair. He was charged with a task. It's a really easy one. Make something that's better than the Eiffel Tower. Oh, piece of cake, no problem. The Eiffel Tower was built the year, or opened the year before. So he charged his engineers with, do something that's novel, original, daring, and unique. So a 33-year-old from Pittsburgh, George Washington Gale Ferris Jr., took the challenge, built the Ferris wheel, and 1.4 million people in 1893 paid 50 cents each for a 20-minute ride to ride the first Ferris wheel. Why the Ferris wheel? Think of the Ferris wheel when you interact with people. When you think of a Ferris wheel, what do you think of?
Going around.
Going around? Yep. What else? Where do you find the Ferris wheel?
Fair.
Fairs? Yep. What type of feelings are associated with the Ferris wheel and fairs and amusement parks?
Excitement.
Pardon?
Excitement.
Excitement? Yep.
Fun.
Fun. Good feelings. Be that Ferris wheel in people's lives. Also, it's a change of perspective. In that video, I can't see the ocean unless I'm on the Ferris wheel. If I'm at ground level, I can't see that beautiful water. But on the Ferris wheel, I get to the top. Whoa, it's spectacular. Think of the people that you know and the people that you are yet to meet. Be open to changing perspectives. They may not be who you think they are. Barry Dickerman, for me, go, all right, there's something else going on. Embrace the unexpected. Good feelings, smiles, laughter. It's easy to do when going through Midway Airport and talking to the baggage clerk and just saying, hey, you doing okay? No, I'm not. I've dealt with blankety blanks all morning. What can I do to help you? Need a cup of coffee? Take me 5 minutes and $5. There's little things that we can do to have a massive impact. When my dad passed away, I received stacks of cards. Some from people I had no idea that they would even care enough to send me a card. I can still think of right top of my mind. I go, that was so important to me. Same thing when my mom passed away a couple years ago. Just such, it doesn't take much to have a massive impact on people. They can be very little things. Again, it's not a personality. It's an approach to life, and we can be the Ferris wheel in people's lives. And we do that by being affable. I asked this high school class, does anyone know what affable means? I never heard the word. One kid did, and he got it right on. Pleasantly easy to approach and talk to. Again, it's not a personality type. It's an approach to life. I like Catbird. Who reads Dilbert? Brilliant comedy strip. He's always sarcastic. Not so fast. I like to savor the moment before I crush your misplaced optimism. We know people like that, right? It's like they get up in the morning and go, how many people can I make miserable today? I'm going to have a great day making people miserable. I don't think that gets us Mafflin. Who knows this guy? I'd be shocked if anybody does. This is the old manager of the Chicago Cubs, Leo Durocher. He said, win any way as long as you can get away with it. Nice guys finish last. So my question to you, true or false? What do you think? True. I see, Tom, yeah, kind of true. Why?
I think you leave a lot of dead bodies on the road.
I got it. All right.
It's very true in the moment.
True in the moment. Okay.
I'd say false, but I think you check your integrity at the door when you do that. Houston Astros, what they're going through now.
I brought that up when I spoke a couple days ago. It's not working too well for the Astros right now. Sure, they're world champs. They have Houston Astros, I just saw this last night. They've been hit by pitches 7 times in the first 5 games of spring training. And guess what? That's going to increase. Are they finishing first now? I wouldn't want to be a Houston Astro going to the plate right now with a flamethrower. Go, oh God, I may be in the hospital. But what do you think? I mean, that's common. I mean, I don't know what your political persuasion is, but I don't think anyone would argue we got a nice guy in the Oval Office. And he's president. Most powerful position in the world. So is it true or false? I would argue false. Now you can have success, no doubt about it, by being an ass. No question about it. You see examples all the time. In corporate world, in social worlds, in political circles, cultural circles. But research indicates that there is an extremely strong link between kindness and happiness. Now again, we're talking about Mafflin making a fantastic first and lasting impression. But the kinder you are, the happier you are. And in my research, there is a huge link between kindness and Mafflin, between affability and Mafflin. Because just being a flat-out jerk loses the second F, okay? All right? You actually lose the first F by being a jerk. Is you do make a first and lasting impression, no doubt about it. But is it fantastic? And what's going to propel you forward, not only in terms of success, but in fulfillment. We're talking about fulfillment and in happiness. And that's where I think, as a lifelong Chicago Cub fan, Leo Durocher is wrong. Is no, I don't think nice guys finish last. I think quite the opposite. Because we cannot hold a torch to light another person's path without lighting our own. If we're going to lift up another person, we have to be on higher ground and lift other people up. That will give you the fulfillment. That will give you the happiness that we all want. The L in Mafflin is language, both verbal and body. We'll talk about words. Who remembers the Verbal Advantage vocabulary program? I must have heard this on the radio 1,000 times. People judge you by the words you use. And they started every commercial that way. People judge you by the words you use, and that is no doubt true. did you do to the same?
I wrote the same, but different words.
Thanks. She wrote the same but used different words. We underappreciate the words that we use. Never in the history of mankind have we been in an age where there is so much communication going on. Text, email, social media. Even occasionally, we have a personal conversation. Words are powerful things. Think about the words you use because they make such a powerful impression. A lot of times we'll go, oh, well, it's only a text, it's only an email. It makes an impression. All communication either gravitates toward more positive or more negative. It is a reflection upon you. And so if you choose your words poorly, and I mean, I'm not obsessive about this. I mean, we're in a lot of casual conversations and you're hanging out with friends and that. I just want you to appreciate somebody like Winston Churchill, who used words beautifully. I love this quote. Has the gift of compressing the largest amount of words into the smallest amount of thoughts. Who comes to mind when you think of that person in your life? Just blah, 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 blah. You see that person coming and go, oh God, no, no. And you get into a conversation and you get to a point, would you please just shut up? Please just shut up, because you're not saying anything. You've got to be thinking about what are the words. Why am I talking? Why am I talking? In a meeting, but also in a personal conversation too. Sometimes, and I've got somebody in mind right now, that it's just diarrhea of the mouth. You go, I know you need the, you feel compelled to the need to talk, but guess what? I don't feel compelled to listen, nor do I want to. Why am I talking? So a quick word about words. People make assumptions about the words you use. They just do. It's how you make an impression. It's how that judgment happens. The larger your vocabulary, the better you are at expressing your thoughts. It's just true. I keep a word list. And there's certain words that I like. I love this bumper sticker. The shoe obfuscation. It's perfect. What does it mean? It means avoid confusion, which is exactly what a shoe obfuscation is doing. The irony of that. Quick word on profanity. It's big. I don't have a judgment. I don't care whether people use it. Doesn't matter. Who knows the Mark Manson book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F? Okay? And then you go into Barnes & Noble and you see all sorts of titles with F and S and the whole deal. That's fine. It's okay. Here's my challenge. And I like this quote, profanity is an attempt by a feeble mind to express itself forcibly. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll use profanity as a substitute for better words and words that can convey more profound thought. We all know people. I'm going to talk like sailors. I've got a couple people in my mind, ladies that are like, wow. But I mean, it's just several F-bombs per sentence. I go, is that like, there is the power of the pause. I mean, you could try that. And say, but it's okay. Again, I'm not making a judgment whether it's right or wrong. I'm just challenging you of think about the words that you use. 2 words about words. I do not want to be this morning soporific, which means that I'm making you sleepy. I do want you to say, Tim was perfect this morning, which is better than perfect. I don't know how I get there, but that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to be pluperfect. Think about the words that you use. Now we'll talk about body language. Our non-verbal body language is everybody's second language. A lady before my time, Mae West, Hollywood starlet, she says, I speak 2 languages, body and English. And she did speak body quite prolifically, from what I understand. Here's an interesting thing. I just talked about how important it is the words that we use, but body language wins. You could say to me, say, Tim, I was totally riveted by your presentation. It was off the chart spectacular. But if you're like this, I'm going, all right, do I believe your words, or were you just faking like you were asleep? Body language wins if there's a mismatch between words and how you present yourself. And oh yes, we do judge a book by its cover. We absolutely do. And I wish my parents were alive today to hear me speak this right now. I would get the biggest I told you so in the history of human interaction. My parents were drumming me on this all the time. You got, Tim, can't you wear anything better? You know, can't you, hey, well, what about your manners? Are you a pig? I go, well, I'm your son, so maybe that's how you raised me to be. And I would fight against this all the time because I'd say, you know what? It's about the person that's most important. It's the person, it's not how I dress or my manners. Then, I was an anchor at TV2, a television station, so I was a news anchor at a television station in India. I get off the set after the 11 o'clock news. I walk through the newsroom, and there's a guy sitting in an editing bay. He's like this, and he's kind of like this, in full fatigues, and he's editing a video like this. And so he's like this, and I walk past him, I get off the set. My very first thought is I looked at him and go, who's this doofus we hired? What? I didn't say anything. Oh, okay, someone needs to grab that, I think. So, and I made that judgment. I made the judgment of, this guy's a doofus. I hadn't said word one to him. How did I make that judgment? I made the judgment by how he looked and his body posture. Turned out I was wrong. He was a great guy. He was good at what he did. He became a friend of mine. I made the wrong judgment, but I did judge the book by its cover. Making snap judgments, we do so in the following ways. Going, did I get enough Old Spice? Okay, there we go, good. Okay, we do make an impression. People make snap judgments. Games that you can play. You can go to a mall or a park. You want to see how profound body language is? Go to a mall and a park, and then ask yourself these questions. Of just any stranger, somebody you don't know, and you're sitting there, and you see somebody. How old are they? Where are they from? Social class? Do they even have a job? Where are they going? What's their personality like? Could I be their friend? How are you making those assumptions? It's certainly not by knowing them and being in a conversation. Body language is important. How do you carry yourself? Another game you can play is at a restaurant, and I'd be willing to bet you've done this one before. You see a couple out to dinner, and you try to figure out, so, how's that going? You go, aw, aw, isn't that cute? They're having a romantic dinner. That's great. Or you go, uh-oh, there is trouble in paradise. These two, and what are they fighting about? Body language and how it communicates more than words. And I'm a words guy, but body language even more important. Just popped into my mind right now as I was in Southern Cal at a conference. And I got out of the conference, and I'm walking, because I wanted a drink. I know, and so I walk over, and this lady stops me. She goes, you're walking, you look like a person who's going somewhere. I said, yeah, I'm going to get a drink. No, I can tell, like, you want to motivate here. Well, no, I'm just going to get a drink. But it made an impression on her for some reason. I don't know why, but it is body language. We can improve our body language. We talked about the handshake. It's still, Jorge, it still makes an impression. Same with me. There's different ways that we can do this. I could spend the rest of the morning talking about mirroring. It is a concept that is so powerful in mirroring another person. Having the same, so I see Katie, she's sitting like this. I go, yeah, so how are you? Good, good. And then she'll lean forward. Good, well, this is great. And you're not mimicking, but you are mirroring their posture. It helps to seal the connection when you have same tone of voice, that type of thing. And this is going to shock you, but I'm somewhat of a high energy guy. So sometimes, when I moved here, I had appointments in South Carolina. I had appointments at 10, noon, 2, and 4. And I go, hey, how are you? So I sit down and I go, all right, tell me about your business. This guy goes, well, son, when did you move here? You remember Linda Ryan? She was my old rep, cute little blonde. She used to call on me all the time. And I'm going, hey, all right, let's get to work. Total mismatch. And I realized, you know what? I've got appointments at 10, noon, 2, and 4. I think I probably should make it 10 and 4. They don't move as quickly in South Carolina. I better slow down because the Chicago boy is moving a little too fast. So I need to mirror. I love that. That could be a whole different subject. Maybe next year. Finally, the I in Mathley is interested and interesting. An interested person is an interesting person. If you're generally interested in the conversation, in the situation, where you are at the moment, it makes you an interesting person because guess what? The vast majority of people are not. They don't care. Again, the challenge, make every encounter count, but be a person who cares. It makes a massive impression. So be genuine. You can sense a fake quickly. I like George Burns. You know, you got to be honest. You got to be authentic. You got to be genuine. If you can fake that, you got to make. Everybody has an opinion. If there's ever been a season, you can talk politically in particular, everybody's got an opinion. And there's a part of me that who cares? I don't care. It depends on the situation, of course. But do something interesting and then tell a story about it. Be a person who does and then tell a story. I went to Mongolia about 10 years ago. Have I got some stories for you? They're really awesome. Do things, not just have an opinion. And you want to be intentional. Do you actually want Mathley? Do you even care about making a fantastic first and lasting impression? Don't just be interested, be fascinated. You can be interested in things, but when you're fascinated, then you explore, then you're curious, then you ask those great questions. Everybody has a story, find it. I think of Barry Dickerman again. He's got a story. I found it through a series of events. Think of the most boring person in your life. I guarantee you somewhere in there, there's a story where you go, I had no idea. I had no idea. And they care because you care. Very quick story here, and about a well-played Mathley. Very quick story. I'm at Wilson, I go into a meeting. President of Wilson comes up to me and says, Tim, I need to talk to you. I said, okay. He says, we need to go over here and sit down. He says, listen, we got a situation. We're involved in a potential lawsuit, and this person's not happy. If this person calls you, make sure you call them back right away. Okay? It's a critical thing. This could really get dicey. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I came away, and he says, because this person really likes you, and it's really important that you call him back. I said, okay. I walk away from that meeting, I go, you've got to be kidding me. I've talked to this person once for 3 minutes, and for the first 2.5 minutes of the conversation, he says, Tim, that's the most awesome outgoing message I've ever had in my life. It is fantastic. I laughed. I called your phone back several times. It was unbelievable. It was so great. It was an outgoing message. That's all it was that made that impression. That's how I got into public address announcing. A guy calls me and says, Tim, Sampras and McEnroe are playing at the RBC, back when it was the RBC Center in Raleigh. He says, would you be interested in being the public address announcer for this event? And he says, I don't know if you even do that, but your outgoing message, I thought you'd be kind of good at it. Well, it's morphed into a second career for me. I mean, I do a lot of announcing in the area, and I did subsequent events for John Isner and more for McEnroe and Billie Jean King and different things. And it just, out of one phone call, it made the impression. My point is, you never know how a well-played mathlete can actually change the trajectory of your life. So some final thoughts. Expectations have a way of coming true. Expect great things out of your interaction. People do mirror back what they receive from you. I'm thinking of a person right now who just struggles with personal relationships. It's incredible. Every job she gets blows up because all the people she's ever worked for in her 49 jobs are jerks and horrible people. So, did you ever think it might be you? People do, in general, mirror back the way you treat them. So if, like, in every interaction, you're abused, and I use the small a there, you say, well, maybe they're just mirroring back how you treat them. Final thought, Mom. Mom taught me, Tim, if you go out looking for friends, here I am, I'm a freshman in high school. Mom, I have no friends, I have nothing to do, everyone's at a party tonight, I didn't get invited, and all that type of thing. How do I get friends? So you don't go out trying to get friends. Go out and be a friend. If you go out and be a friend, you're going to have more friends than you know what to do with. Mathly is not just about making friends, it's about making a major move. Make every encounter count. Make every interaction produce a positive reaction, and great things, profound things, fulfilling things will happen in your life. Practice Mathly every day. If you do this, you will set yourself up for maximum success. Thank you for this encounter and this interaction. It's an honor to be here.